Okay, this is gonna be a good one because there are a ton of new makeup launches right now that I'm super excited about from brands that I love. So I have the new Summer Fridays Sheer Tint. I have the About Face Blush Balm. I think it's called the Cheek Freak. I have the new Make Beauty bronzers, some new lip pencils from Tower 28, and a few other things here and there. But I have stuff that I've purchased myself, stuff that I've received in PR, and we're going to do a full face of new makeup launches. Let's start with base. I just have my skincare on and a little bit of brow gel, and I have 2 shades of the Summer Fridays Sheer Skin Tint. I am so excited about this. I did mention in a previous video that I was going to pick these up. I think I mistakenly called these a tinted SPF in that video. I think just because the bottle looks like the SPF, I got a little bit confused. So I'm sorry if I confused you. These are not SPFs, they are purely makeup. So this is Summer Friday's first major step into makeup. They've obviously done tinted balms, but they haven't ever done pure cosmetics. So I'm excited about this. This is what the packaging looks like. It's a very cute, lightweight, shaky bottle, and it looks just like the SPF bottle, which is why I got confused. What originally caught my eye about this launch is the shade range. So there are 10 shades that are flexible because they're sheer, but from very, very light to very, very deep. And there's a really great range of undertones from cooler, more pinky tones to golden tones, neutral, as well as olive. One of the issues I see a lot with skin tint ranges is brands saying that the coverage and the tone is essentially flexible, and therefore they don't develop a very wide-reaching shade range, and they don't develop various undertones, and they oftentimes, of course we know, skew on the lighter side. So to see the Summer Fridays shade range with only 10 shades span from light to deep with varying undertones shows us that it can be done, and this is just their first foray into makeup. So you can have an inclusive and equitably distributed shade range. So I picked up shades 3 and 4. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure based on swatches and, photography online which shade I would be. And I'm probably going to fluctuate between these 2 shades throughout the year. I am on the tanner side right now. So I just put a drop of each shade on the back of my hand. This is shade number 3, which is described as light with golden undertones. And this is shade number 4, which is described as light medium with neutral olive undertones. So I'm just going to blend out shade number 3 here and shade number 4 here so you can see. So that's shade 3, that's shade 4. Those are slightly blended out. I think you can see, even based on the swatches on the back of my hand, how sheer these shades are. For today's look, I think I'm gonna go with shade number 4, but I'm gonna keep shade number 3 because I feel like it's a shade that I could totally use. I mean, I could use it even now because it's so sheer, but I definitely think it's a shade that I could turn to in a few months as the weather cools down. This is also $42 for 1 fluid ounce. I know this bottle looks small, but 1 fluid ounce is actually standard for base products and foundations. And I'm actually going to use this really cute Summer Fridays brush. So they gave this out as a gift with purchase on launch day if you placed your orders on launch day. So I received 2 of these, 1 for each bottle. I don't see it on the website now, but it's such a cute little brush. I hope they bring it back or make it permanent or allow you to buy it because it's actually really, really soft and it has this nice domed shape. So I'm just gonna pick some up off the back of my hand. Again, I don't have primer on or anything. I'm just going to lightly apply that. I think if you want higher coverage, you should go with fingers because you're gonna lose less product to a brush or another kind of tool. I would not use a sponge with this personally. So it's not going to be like a foundation, right? You can't go into a skin tint test expecting foundation-like coverage, but it is just kind of blurring over the skin. And that's something that I really like in a skin tint. I'm gonna apply with fingers on the forehead just to see what the finish is like. Something I'm noticing about this right away is that it's blurring over pores. Even though it's not adding a lot of coverage, A lot of skin tints have a film forming quality in them that helps them set down and not just slide around on your face. And it's that same film forming quality that you see, for example, in like Fenty Eavesdrop. This has a similar quality to that, but it's dewier than that finish. But there is a similar liquidy quality to it that spreads out, and then the reason why it looks like it blurs the pores is it creates that film, that like veil-like finish across the skin. And so your skin just looks really blurred and any texture can look smoothed over. I really like the feel of this. My skin feels super hydrated. It almost has the feeling of like MAC Face and Body. I forget what it's called now. Is it called Studio Skin? There's a new name for it, but the MAC fluid foundation that comes in that shaky bottle, it has a similar feeling to that in that it has like a dewy skin-like finish, but it also sets down. So the bottle says that the lightweight formula can be layered if more coverage is desired. So I'm just going to take a little bit on my finger, just like a little dot, and see how this works to build coverage. Again, I'm not expecting anything major, but usually along my jawline, I have a little bit more redness, sometimes some sunspots or pigmentation. And I do find with this kind of formula, if you want to build coverage, like I mentioned earlier, fingers are definitely the way to go. And sometimes patting it actually works better than smearing it by keeping more product concentrated where you want it. I can already see a lot of different skin types and a lot of people really liking this because it's just easy. This is the kind of skin tint that anyone can apply with fingers. You can just slap on and go. It's not doing anything weird. There's no streakiness, there's no pilling, there's no texture issues. It just kind of looks like your skin but better, and it's easy, which is all you want in a skin tint. If you like something really sheer, if you want something for every day, something no fuss, this is totally for you. Also, if you have dry skin or dry patches and you found skin tints like the Fenty Eavesdrop caught on dry patches, I think you'll like this one a little bit more because it is dewier, it's a little bit more hydrating, whereas the Fenty Eavesdrop has a little bit more of a natural matte finish. And so I think this formula is going to not catch on those dry patches. It's probably going to smooth over those areas. I have combo oily skin, but I like a dewy finish, so I actually really like this, and I can actually see it staying in place because it is slightly setting to that kind of grippier finish, which is how you know that film forming quality is activated. But it doesn't promise miracles. I wouldn't expect miracles from a skin tint, but that's kind of why you use a skin tint. You still want to look like yourself and you want your skin to look like skin, and I don't know, I feel really pretty. Like I feel like this skin looks pretty and radiant and just like the best version of itself. I don't have a new concealer, so I'm just going to add some concealer a little bit around the eyes, around some pigmentation on the jawline, and we'll come back for cheeks. I'm just gonna add a touch of my Luminous Silk concealer because it's not too high coverage. I don't wanna have like super high coverage concealer around my eyes and have like a raccoon eye situation. So I'm just going to blend this out with fingers. Oh, I also have to say, I really like this brush. It's kind of small, but I like that it's sort of pocket sized and it's dense, but it's really soft. It has some like give to it. So it lets you maneuver the skin tint without absorbing too much product. I think I might use it to blend out my concealer here too, maybe just to kind of mesh those two together. All right, concealer is done. I wanted to keep everything really fresh, so I didn't over apply. I'm just going to set the T-zone. I've demoed this powder before. It's the new Laura Mercier Ultra Blur powder, I think. It's talc-free and it is great. It's really blurring. I've also really been liking the Sonia G Mini Cheek Brush. It is the cutest little brush, looks like this, and it has the perfect amount of like fluffiness to it. And I've really been liking this for setting my face because it allows me to stay really targeted and keep the powder exactly where I want it without over applying product. And it's also super soft and doesn't disturb the makeup underneath. So I'm just keeping this focused on the sort of center panel of the face. Let's move on to cheeks, and I have the About Face Cheek Freak Blush Balms. I'm gonna insert swatches here because I did swatch all of them in natural light, and they're beautiful. So they have this really cute monochrome packaging, and it's like a soft matte, and the packaging matches the shade inside. And this is a cream blush. It's a balm, but the formula is really unique. It does melt down and it's very thin, a very thin texture. But despite being a balm, it's not actually emollient. It does sort of turn into this like powder creme, and it blends out super evenly, really beautifully, and then it sets, and it feels like nothing on the cheeks, but it lasts all day long because it does have that kind of slightly powdery finish, but it doesn't look powdery on the cheeks. So you'll see, I'm going to apply it and it'll all make sense because it was hard for me to imagine what this formula would be like until I tried it. I've been really into this shade called Crush. I know it looks deep in the pan and you can build it up to be true to color, but I want to use a deeper shade just so I can show you how much it does sheer out. So I'm going to rub my finger across the surface. Mine is a little busted because I think the package was sitting out in the sun, and I live in LA. It's very hot and it sort of melted a little bit. So just be aware if you are ordering it online, keep an eye out for the package. Don't let it sit out too long, but it's still completely usable. So I'm just going to use my finger to apply some across the top of my cheek there. And then I'm gonna use a clean finger and just tap out the formula. And you can see it turns into this almost like cloud-like airbrushed texture. It doesn't stick where you put it down, and the edges are really easy to diffuse to create that like almost watercolor-like diffused finish around the edges, so it blends out really evenly. You could also take a brush. This is the Phytosurgeon's Sky Buff brush, and you could spread the formula out even more to create an even more sheared out look, or you can totally build it up as well. But I just want to show you how flexible this formula is and how, I don't know, I keep saying cloud-like, but it does have that like powder puff diffused finish. I'm gonna add a little bit more with a brush on this side just so you can see that application. This shade Crush is, it's a really pretty raspberry sort of shade. It's not too cool toned, like it's not a cranberry. It has a good amount of red in it. And on my skin tone, it gives me a really nice like sun-kissed blush. Okay, I just realized I kept calling this Crush, but it's actually called Smash. So, sorry about that. The shade is Smash and it's the kind of raspberry sort of shade. For bronzer, I am so excited because Make Beauty came out with their Skin Mimetic Micro Suede Powder Bronzer. And this is in 6 shades, also from very fair to very deep. I'm also going to include swatches that I did in natural light so you can see what these actually look like. Do keep in mind that bronzer swatches are always very sheer, and I swatch them on the inside of my arm, which is very fair compared to the rest of my body. So just keep that in mind. From light to deep, the shades are Lunar, Aura, Dune, Equinox, Stellar, and Zodiac. Here's what the compact looks like. It's this beautiful blue acrylic. It says Make right here, and the bottom is silver, so it's got that very beautiful weighty packaging. This is also refillable, and you've got a big mirror inside as well as the bronzer pan, which is a really good size. I also think there's a really nice range of undertones here. So here I have the 3 lightest shades. Let's start with Lunar. So this is Lunar, it's the lightest shade, and it's like a very light golden undertone. This is Dune, which is a bit of a warmer undertone. There's almost a little bit of red, especially when you compare it to Lunar, which definitely looks more golden next to this. And the next deepest shade is Aura, which is like a medium golden. So I think you can see here, there's a nice range of depths of undertones, and honestly, I think I could make any of these bronzers work, but I am really happy to see that they go from light to very deep as well. So I'm gonna start with the lightest shade, Lunar. I like a golden undertone, so I actually think Lunar or the third deepest shade, Aura, could work for me too. But just because it's a new formula to me, I've only swatched it, but I haven't tried it on my cheeks yet, I'm gonna build up slowly. I have a Hakuhodo brush. I'm sorry, the number has completely rubbed off. It's very old, but it's just a fluffy cheek brush. I'm going to tap into Lunar, the lightest shade, and just start to build this up slowly. So one thing I will say about this powder, and you can feel it, is it's really velvety and soft to touch. I was shocked actually when I first touched it because it honestly almost felt creamy. This is shearing out really nicely. I did feel like when I was swatching these that they look much deeper in the pan than they apply on the skin. There's no area where the bronzer sticks or looks unnatural on my skin. I am going to try this shade Aura, which is a shade deeper, and I'm just going to apply it on the very outer perimeter of my face. I do notice definitely more depth with this, so I'm gonna be light-handed. See what I mean though? It's really diffused, really light. It doesn't feel like anything on the skin. Oh, I also forgot to say, I have a discount code with Make Beauty. It's Becca15 if you ever want to use it, and these are $32. That is all of the cheek and base products done. I don't have any highlighter. I think I'm going to skip it for now because I feel like the skin is very glowy, and I feel like the blush balm has, even though it's a matte powdery finish, it does still reflect back light. One thing I will say is that it does feel like the Summer Fridays skin tint has sort of absorbed into the skin. I don't feel it on top of my skin. I don't feel the dewiness as much anymore. Granted, I did apply cheek products on top of it, but I feel like even in the areas that I didn't apply cheek products, it has sort of sunken in to create a slightly more natural skin-like finish and not quite as dewy as right after I applied it. For eyes, I have a new one and done eyeshadow that I'm really excited to test out from a new to me brand. It's an Australian brand and I hope I'm saying their name right. It's called Flavado and Albedo. And they sent over some colorful eyeliners as well as a cream blush and this, which is their velvet eyeshadow in the shade Cool Bronze. I have swatched this and the cream blush, which I'm not going to use today because I have blush on, but I will include swatches of that. It's called the Dew Blush, I think, and I had the shade Rose. This is a very interesting eyeshadow. So it's got, all of their packaging is plastic free and it comes in this like little metal tin and it's very cute. It has these colorful layers. All of their packaging is adorable and it has their brand name here. So you twist it open and this is the eyeshadow. And what makes this so interesting is that it's almost a hybrid of a cream and a powder, like a powdery creme. And there's a real density to this formula that binds it together. And so this is the shade Cool Bronze. I'll swatch it for you again here. It's so beautiful. I think you can even see how creamy and dense it is on the back of my hand. And the more you kind of blend it out, the shinier it gets. And this is a really dimensional shade with a bronzy base, but a silvery sheen running through it. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's even this slightly cool-toned rosy quality that runs through this shade. I'm just going to apply this with fingers and see what happens because I have swatched it, but I have not played with it on the eyes yet. I am just going to blend that across the lid. Oof, that's really pretty. There's definitely this pewter-like quality to this shade. There's something about this that kind of reminds me of Victoria Beckham Beauty Mink. The formula is very different. This is more powdery, whereas that is more of like a pressed pigment. But there's something about the shine on this, that kind of gunmetal, pewter, taupey shine, that reminds me of the shine that Victoria Beckham Beauty Mink gives. But Mink does have a deeper base overall. I do get why they call this the velvet eyeshadow though, because the surface does feel kind of velvety, the surface of the pan. So that blended out beautifully with fingers. It has this melty quality to it where once it hits the skin, it almost becomes creamier. It's almost like the warmth of your skin helps the product kind of stick on. So you could totally leave the eye look here. I think I actually want to warm it up a little bit just because the cheek products are much warmer. So I'm gonna do something I do often, which is I'm going to take a fluffy brush into the bronzer. This is the deeper shade that I used in the shade Dune. And I'm just going to blend out the edges slightly with the warmer tone. And what that does is it allows you to retain the beautiful kind of cool tone shift, but it just warms up the overall eye look in a very subtle way that I think helps the eye look a little bit more cohesive with the overall kind of color story. This is something I started doing last year actually with Victoria Beckham Beauty Mink. And this little technique of warming up the edges with a brown tone, a warm brown, has made cool tones so much more wearable for me because I just find that sometimes cool tones can look potentially a little bit muddy on my skin tone because I have such a golden undertone that when I do this, it just gives that tone something to blend into and just kind of grounds the overall eye look. Then I have a new Victoria Beckham Beauty launch. This is an extension of their Satin Kajal liner formula, which is one of my favorite eyeliner formulas. If you like a smudgy, smoked out liner or a smoky wing, this is always the formula that I use. And this is the shade Fig. Oh, there's like a blender sponge. This is the shade Fig, which is a really beautiful, like deep plum. You can see right there, it has that like aubergine eggplant quality to it. And if you have green eyes, if you have brown eyes, this is a really nice tone because it helps accentuate and bring out the eye color. This is an extremely creamy formula. So it stays kind of smudgy for a little while, but then once it sets down, it really sets down. So it's very forgiving if you're someone that needs a little bit of extra time to do your eyeliner, like me, or if you want to play with the shape a little bit, it gives you that time without smudging all over the place by the end of the day. Also, if you want to incorporate some color into your makeup, but maybe you don't want to wear a purple eyeshadow or go for a super bold blush, deep purple eyeliner is actually a really nice way to add a little bit of life and a little bit of something unexpected to a neutrals look without obviously looking like color, because someone's not going to look at you and be like, oh my God, she's wearing purple eyeliner, because this is such a deep plum and it does blend into the lash line, but this still brings a little pop of something unexpected to the eye. Okay, I guess I am adding just a little baby wing to the end here. But this is a great eyeliner formula if you have hooded eyes and you need something a little bit more forgiving than a liquid liner. I find it's really easy to smudge out. Sometimes I just take the edge of my nail and kind of wing it out. Not in an obvious way, but it just lifts up the corners of the eye. I do not have a new mascara, so I'm going to add a little mascara, fill in my brows, and we'll come back to finish off with lips. All right, so I added the Freck, what's this called? The Lash Rocket mascara, which again, I've still really been loving, and the Milani brow pen just to fill in the brows a little bit. So I'm gonna finish off with lips. Tower 28 just launched the One Liner. So this is a multi-use pencil. You can use it on your lips, your eyes, and your cheeks. I've only used it on my lips so far. These are a traditional wooden pencil, which is my preference because I just find them to be longer lasting than a gel pencil usually. So there are 3 shades right now. There's a light pink, which is called Fill Me In, a sort of mid-tone brown-based nude, which is called Work of Art, and a deeper chocolatey brown called Draw Me. So these are available on Tower 28's website and Credo exclusively for now. I have lip swatched all of these, and they also sent over 3 shades of their lip jellies, which are not new, but each pencil sort of has a corresponding shade. I did film a video on Instagram and TikTok lip swatching all of the corresponding shades together. So I'm not gonna lip swatch all of them now, but I will include photos of the corresponding shades swatched together. For now, I think I'm gonna use the mid-tone shade Work of Art, which is a brown toned rose, brown tone nude. It's honestly my ideal nude lip shade, but I really like that they included a light, a medium, and a deep. And I really like this formula already, and I hope they extend the shade selection. For a wooden lip pencil, this is actually surprisingly creamy and melty. And I guess that's why they have designed it to be multi-use, so it doesn't drag on the eyes, or if you were to use this on the cheeks. Personally, I wouldn't use a pencil this tiny on the cheeks. I feel like you'd go through product really quickly if you did, but if you really wanted to, you could. I just think there are actual cream blushes, including in Tower 28's line, that you would probably rather use that way. So I'm just going to line the lips. I don't know if you can see on camera, but there is a brown undertone to this pencil, and it's actually very, very close to my natural lip tone, which makes this an ideal shade for overlining the lips. I used the deep brown as well, and they are also very smudgeable and blendable before they set down. So if you want a slightly more diffused lip or a blurred lip look, you could totally achieve that too. And even that deep shade, despite being so deep, because it is in the nudes family, worked really beautifully with a lip jelly. And then I can't decide which shade to use. This is Pistachio, which is more of a pink, and then this is Cashew, which is more of a brown tone. I think I'm gonna go with Cashew. This is the shade that best corresponds with that lip pencil. If you're not familiar with this formula, it's it's their version of a gloss, but it has a super moisturizing feel to it, and it's not sticky at all. It's almost like a gel. For me, it's a lip formula that actually nourishes the lips. I actually have the clear version, and I use it on my lips all the time as essentially a lip balm because it does leave my lips a lot softer and more hydrated after I wear it. I think I actually do want a little bit of pink, so just gonna add Pistachio to the center of the lips. That is the finished look. I love how this makeup turned out, and I have some final thoughts. The Summer Fridays skin tint is an absolute win in my book already. I just love how it went on. It was exactly what I was hoping it would be. It was actually even more blurring than I was hoping it would be, and I feel like that makes it a lot more versatile. I wouldn't typically pair it with a full out makeup look like I'm wearing today. I would probably use this with just some mascara, some cream blush, some lip gloss, just like an easy everyday sort of look. But even with a full makeup look, it still looks really beautiful and it looks like real skin. And I really like that the finish became more skin-like. the longer I wore it. And throughout the makeup application, it went from being more dewy to more of a natural finish. The cheek products I already knew I loved. I have reviewed them already. You can see the swatches on Instagram or TikTok. I've just really been enjoying this formula, and I think it's really easy to use. And if you are someone who wants to try cream blush, but maybe you're a little intimidated, you want something that's not overly pigmented, I would try these because it's very forgiving and it's very beginner friendly, and they're $18. The bronzer, I also had very high expectations for, and it did meet up to those expectations. I just think it is so silky and so smooth, and also very buildable. It doesn't start out overly pigmented. It's not too powdery. It's a matte velvety powder, but it doesn't make the skin look dry. It just adds a really beautiful, soft finish to the skin. And I love that they're refillable. I love the shade range. Honestly, I'm just waiting for Make Beauty to release something I don't like, and they have yet to really do that. Again, this is no exception. It's so beautiful. As for this eyeshadow, I can't speak to how it wears yet. This is my first time wearing it, so I will leave a pinned comment below letting you know how everything wore, including the eyeshadow. I think it's a beautiful shade. I think it's a beautiful formula. It was really easy to work with. I like seeing packaging innovation. This is really cute. It's plastic free. And I also just like to see what indie brands are up to. I feel like a lot of times indie brands are where innovation can and does happen. So again, TBD, but for now, I really liked the application of this product. The Victoria Beckham lip liners, I already knew I loved this formula, and I really like this shade. I'm actually kind of surprised because there's a little bit more blue in it than I was expecting. It's less of a plum and more of an eggplant. If you're looking for more of a wine color, they do have a shade called Bordeaux that's also beautiful. But I kind of like this, especially paired with the Cool Bronze eyeshadow. I feel like they're actually a perfect pairing. So it's kind of nice to have this shade around. The Tower 28 one-liners, again, beautiful. I expected nothing less. I should also say these are both $15, so these are the same price as their lip jellies, and I just think they're at such a great price point, and they deliver so much quality for their price point. So this was a really good makeup try on. I mean, these are all brands I really, really trust. The only new brand was Flavedo and Albedo. But even then, I could tell when I swatched the product that it was a very high quality pigment. So I'm not surprised that everything went on really beautifully. Again, I will leave that pinned comment letting you know how everything wore. I think I'll be able to wear this makeup for around 6 hours today. But I'm not expecting anything drastic, but I will, let you know if there are any changes that I notice by the end of the day. So thank you for watching. If there's anything you ever want me to try or review, please let me know. You can DM me, you can tag me and stuff, you can write me a comment on any of my videos. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.